Alright everybody, I'm back again to show you another quick video. This time we're going to do it on gameplay. We're going to do one turn. I'm playing it by myself in God mode where I'm playing against an imaginary person. This is not the solitaire rules. And I'm also playing it as one player versus one player. You know that the game plays up to 8 people. And if there's only 2 of you playing, each person takes a minimum of 2 tanks to control, and they have 1 hand of cards that they'll be playing for both tanks. So in this case, the Germans have right here an elite commander, and over here on this other one over here we've got a seasoned commander with the S right there, and he's buttoned up at the time. So when we start a hand of in Tank Duel, we got to get our hand size, and the hand size is 4 cards plus 2 cards per tank that you control. So 4, 6, 8. This elite commander gives me 9, and this tank's range is in this red box. There's an additional one, so they have a hand size of 10 for this turn. For the Russians on the other side, we have a seasoned and a green commander. So they go 4, 6. I'm sorry, I take that back. They have 2 green commanders. So it's 4, 6, 8, minus 2 for the 2 green commanders puts it back to 6, and 1 tank's in the red. So they have a hand of 7 cards. So as you can see, the Russians are at a little bit of a disadvantage in the scenario. The scenario is to be the last side with tanks on the high ground in the middle of the battlefield. Battlefield is wherever you are. There's an imaginary middle of the battlefield at 0. So this tank is at 0. He is on the hill in some woods. This German tank over here is at 600. Whenever you enter the 0 in this scenario, you can enter onto a hill card. Being up on the hill will give victory points at the beginning of the turn for being there, and then a larger sum of victory points at the end. So the object is to be the sole surviving side on the hill at the end of the scenario. So it's a 3-deck game. The deck is over here. I'm about halfway through the first deck. So we're set up. 1 tank is made, the hill. We're going to be doing some maneuvering and some shooting. So let's go ahead and get into the turn. So first thing we do is we look at initiative card. Everybody has an initiative card here. Here's a 12, a 7, a 94, and a 100. The lowest goes first. So the 7 will be the first tank to be able to go this turn. He is sitting at 400. He gets to go first. So looking at the German hand of the Russian hand of cards, I've got a fire, move, flank, and another flank. Well, he really wants to shoot. So he's going to play this fire 2 card. So he places the fire 2 card in front of his tank. Now he could add a leadership card to this card if he had one. But in his hand, he didn't have a leadership. That would have given him a plus 20 to try to hit. He doesn't have one of those, but the German player can, if he has a tactics card, he could play it and make his shot worse. He does not have a tactics card to play at this time. So it's a straight shot. What we do for a fire is we look at the 400 range. He can only see tank 4, which is right here, tank 4. So he can see this tank. He's sitting at 600. He's at 400. The Russian tank's at 400. Add those 2 together. The range is 1,000 meters apart. We look at the scale. It's upside down, I know, but that's at 62. So he needs a 62 or less to hit. Now the thing that we're going to look at now is the fire card, and the fire card gives him a +5 to hit. So that makes it up to 67. He needs a 67 to hit him. And now we're going to look at this tank over here, number 4, and we're going to see if anything over here is going to help him. He is in a gully and has a cover of 10. So that puts it down to 52. And the size of his tank is a -5. That puts it to 47. So he needs a 47 or less to hit him. And we pull this, and it is a 76. There's a number up here in the top that says 76, and down here. So that is a miss. So he took a shot here, he missed. You'll notice on the fire card that it has a red spotted on it at the bottom. That means when anybody fires, the other team automatically spots them. So this tank already had number 2 spotted. This tank over here does not have tank 2 spotted. He has tank number 1 spotted, but he's acquired on him, so he has to make a decision. If I want to spot the tank over there, the Russian tank that just fired, I'm going to have to lose my acquisition. And I don't think he wants to lose his acquisition, so he's not going to take that spot on him and continue to be focused on tank 1, which is right up here. So that completes one of the fires. So now we look 76, 21, 12. So number 12 is the next lowest card for initiative. So this German Panzer III is going to take a turn. He is also, wrong deck, sorry about that. He is also going to take a fire. He's got a fire 1, a move, a rubble, some mud, split card fire 2, a command card, gully, smoke, and another move fire 6 also. You can use, on these split cards, you can use the top or the bottom. So he's going to take a shot at that Russian tank with a fire 1. We know he doesn't have, well, does he have leadership to help? No, he had a command card, no leadership. So he can't help his shot that way. He sees him because he sees tank number 2. And at this range, he's at 0 and he's at 4. The range is 400. So he needs an 82 to hit. Now, does this fire card help him to hit? It does. It gives him a +10, so that makes it up to 92. Now, is this guy in any kind of cover? He is. He's in woods, -10 for cover, so that would put him at 82, and his size is 5, puts him at 77. So this tank needs a 77 to hit, and he pulls a 74. That is a hit. So now we can go further into the fire procedure. Now that he's hit the tank, if he would have played 2 fire cards, then he could call his hit location. But since he only played 1, it's random where it hits. So we're going to pull another battle card, and we're going to see where this thing hits. We look at the small number right here with the little target. The white number is a 7. We look over here on the tank board, and it says from 1 to 6, it's a hull hit. From 7 to 9, it's a turret hit. And his turret armor factor is a 6. Now we're going to look at this tank firing at 4. He penetrates with a 7. So he has got 1 higher value than his armor. But we have to pull a card and put a modifier to it, which is this modifier right here. And this one happens to be a +4. So we add that +4 to his 7, which makes 11, which is higher than the armor value of the 6. It penetrates the turret, and since it was in red, it's heavy damage. So now we're going to see what happens to the tank with heavy damage. We're going to pull a card, and the first thing that we're going to compare is we're going to look at that battle number as a 9 compared to the critical hit number, which is a 5. They do not match. That means there is not a critical hit. Now we go down to turret, which is right here, and we look at heavy damage, and we have assistant driver all in caps. He is KIA. So I remove the assistant driver, and he is now KIA. Looking at the next one, there's an explosion in small and fire in small. So we have to check for explosion and fire. So the first card that we're going to pull is we're going to pull this, and we're going to look for an explosion. That signal right there is explosion, fire, binoculars. There should be some cards will have an extinguisher right there and smoke right there. This one has an explosion, so the tank explodes. When the tank explodes, there's no need to look at the fire because it's considered to be on fire after it explodes. Now what has to happen is we must find out if there are going to be any survivors. In Tank Duel, your big victory points are your crew. You want your crew to survive. You can always make more machines, but you want your crew to survive. And the way that we do this is we pull a card for each person that's left in the tank. If they're not wounded, we pull one card. If they're wounded, we have to pull 2 cards. So for the driver, we pull a shuffle. So that I'm going to put to the side. When we finish this bit of the example, we're going to have to reshuffle the deck. So again, we're pulling this and we're looking for explosions. No explosion. So he's okay. Now we're going to pull for the loader. Looking for explosions. Yes, there's an explosion on that card. The loader is KIA. And now we are going to pull for the leader. And this is the big money guy. And there is an explosion there. So he is also KIA. So the Germans would receive for that 3 for the vehicle, 5 for the commander, which makes 8, and 2 other crewmen at 2 makes 10. So this German, when he first started his tank turn, since he was on the hill, he would have gotten 1 victory point for being on the hill and just received 10 more for destroying a German tank. He also receives a kill medal, and these matter in a future expansion for possible having your leaders get better as they get more experience. But in this game, it is used for bragging rights to see who gets the most kills. It's also used for a tiebreaker if the scores are tied. So that will finish that tank off. There's some things that we need to do for that, but for this video, I'm not going to get into it right now. I just want to continue on. I should be doing this shuffle right now, but I'm going to finish the turn, not take the time to do this shuffle. And when I get done with this turn, I'll just do the shuffle then. But at this point right here is where we would reshuffle the deck and make a new deck. The game I'm playing is 3 decks long, so I'm theoretically into the 2nd deck. So the next guy to go would be 94, up here, this Russian tank. He's got a 94. So I'm going to discard the 94. He's going to take his turn, and this is going to be pretty simple. Now, since he fired over here, this is tank 3, he now sees tank number 3. So now that he can see tank number 3, he's going to play a move, flank. So what that means is he's going to move for the first one, move for the second one, and he's able to flank because it's a flank 5, and he is a move 7. So he's going to be able to flank him. He's going to take his number 1 flank, which matches his color and number, and put it in front of this tank over here because he sees number 1. He's gotten on number 1's side, so he now has him flanked. Weaker armor and better chance to hit, so you don't want to be flanked. And there's nothing that anybody can do to stop that. At this point, he must choose one of these 2 move cards and put it in his terrain, which signifies that he is in motion. He is still moving until he does something to stop and just be in an open field, or he plays like one of these terrain cards that a German card had. And if he was to move again and play this terrain card, he would take the move off, put the terrain down, and he's stopped in woods in this case. But he's not, so he stays in motion. And now both tanks can see him because he's in motion. And since he went into motion with since he went into motion, a tank cannot keep another tank acquired if they move. So he's going to lose his acquisition on him because the guy who he had acquired is moving. And now we're down to the last tank for the turn. And he is going to do, since this guy moved, everybody sees him, which he already has him spotted. So he's going to do a move, and he's going to do a move and a rubble. Okay, so he's going to go move, because they're both at 6 and he's at 6. And he's going to go into rubble. So he's going to move once, move twice, get rid of his gully card, because he moved out of the gully and into some rubble. And now his turn is finished. This tank over here is dead, so he's not seeing anybody until the next turn when he comes back as a reinforcement. This tank here can see 4 now because he moved. Well, let me take that back. Look right here. There's red, conceal, and bog. So we got to check for conceal and bog because he moved into some rubble. First, it's conceal 30, which means if this is 30 or less, all tanks lose spot on them. It's a 52. So they still have their spot. And now we're looking at bog at 20, 72. If it was 20 or less, he would have been bogged down, but he's not. So, and then after we do, I need to take that last one that he played, which was a move, rubble. Oh, I already put it there. So it's there already. So we're good. Now, to end everybody's turns, you're allowed to discard cards if you don't like anything. Well, he likes everything he has, but there's a thing in the game called field actions. And he is going to play this for a field action. That is an infantry sign. Both German and Russians can play that to advance their infantry or take an attack with their infantry. The Germans are going to advance their infantry to 200 into the enemy side of the battlefield. Now this can move up to 400 in. It can be pushed back, and it could go to the other side, which, I got to get a Russian one out. I don't have a Russian one. There's some Russian ones that you have that you can put out, and they can push them off, and the Russians can go on. We use these cards over here to take infantry attacks. So you got to be at a certain range. You got to be within 600. When the enemy tanks must be within 600 of the middle of the battlefield, and then you can use this card to take an attack at them. So that is a full turn of Tank Duel. And thanks for watching. I hope that was somewhat informative. I hope it wasn't too scattered. I'll be making some more soon. Thank you.